You have probably heard that a mortgage or a student loan is good debt, and that credit cards are bad debt. That rule feels simple, and it is also the reason a lot of financially responsible people are still carrying debt that is quietly working against them. The label on a loan does not decide whether it helps you or hurts you. The math behind it does, and almost nobody actually runs that math before they sign. Here is the part that stings a little. If you have ever told yourself a debt was fine just because it was a mortgage, a student loan, or financing for a car you needed, you skip the only step that actually matters. You check the category and never check the cost. That is not a character flaw. It is just how the advice got taught. Good debt versus bad debt sounds like a tidy rule you can apply once and trust forever. In real life, the same loan type can be a smart move for one person and a slow leak for another, depending on the rate, the term, and what that money is actually doing for you. The good debt and bad debt label took hold because it is easy to teach. Mortgages and student loans get sorted into good debt because they are usually tied to a house or a degree, and credit cards get sorted into bad debt because people associate them with overspending. That shorthand exists for a reason. It is just incomplete. A mortgage at a high rate on a house you stretch to afford is not automatically good debt just because it is a mortgage. A car loan that finances a vehicle losing value every year is not automatically good debt just because a bank approved it. And a credit card used to cover a real cash flow gap and paid off the same month is not automatically bad debt either. The category tells you almost nothing. What actually tells you something is the interest rate, what the money is attached to, and whether the payment fits your life without squeezing it. Here is where the mislabeling actually costs people money. Once someone decides a debt is good, they stop paying attention to it. A car loan gets relabeled good debt because everyone needs a car, so the rate never gets questioned and the loan gets rolled into an even longer term. A student loan gets treated as untouchable good debt for 10 years, even after a raise that could have knocked it out twice as fast. Meanwhile, a high-rate credit card sits there because bad debt only feels like an emergency once the balance gets large enough to panic about. The real leak is not the debt itself, it is the autopilot. Calling something good debt and never checking it again is how a fair loan slowly turns into an expensive one, and how a genuinely bad balance gets ignored until it has compounded for years. So let's actually run the math on two debts that often get sorted the exact same way and see how differently they behave. Say two people each take on $20,000 of debt this year. Person one puts it on a credit card at 22% interest for things that are already gone, paying $500 a month. That takes about 6 years to pay off and costs over $16,000 in interest. Person two borrows the same $20,000 at 6% for a credential that raises their income on a fixed 10-year loan, paying about $220 a month and roughly $6,600 in interest total. Same exact starting number, and one version costs $10,000 more while eating up more than double the monthly cash for years longer. The rate and what the money was attached to made the entire difference here, not the category either debt was filed under. That same gap holds up no matter what kind of debt you are looking at, which is why a real test beats a label every time. Before you decide if a debt is helping you or hurting you, skip the category and run 3 questions. First, the rate question. Is this debt cheaper than what your money could earn elsewhere? Or is it outrunning your investments and your raises? Second, the asset question. Is this money attached to something that holds value or grows your income? Or does it lose value the moment you drive it off the lot? Third, the margin question. Does the payment leave you breathing room, or does it own your paycheck before you see it? A debt that passes all 3 is working for you. A debt that fails even one deserves a second look, no matter the category. That is the filter to run before you sign anything, and the same filter you can apply right now to debt you already have. If you only take one thing from this video, Take the rule, not the category. Wealth Nexus Rule. Debt is not good or bad because of what it is called. It is good or bad because of the rate, the asset, and the margin behind it. Put that rule to work this week with 3 simple moves. Start by pulling up every loan and credit balance you currently carry and writing down the actual interest rate next to each one, not the payment, the rate. Next, run the asset question on anything above 10% interest. And if the money is already gone and the rate is high, treat it like the most urgent bill you have, even if it has always felt routine. Finally, before you take on any new debt, including the next car loan or the next promotional financing offer, ask what your money would earn if you invested it instead of borrowing, and only move forward if the loan still wins that comparison. None of this requires a finance degree. It just requires actually looking instead of trusting the label. If you want a simple way to apply this to your own debt instead of just trusting your gut, our weekly newsletter breaks down one real money decision like this every week, with the actual numbers behind it. It is a quick read and it is free to join. If you'd rather work through that test on paper instead of in your head, the Financial Blueprint Workbook walks you through it loan by loan, so you can see in writing which debts are working for you and which ones need to go. Good debt and bad debt were never really about mortgages or credit cards. They were always about the math underneath them. And that math changes depending on the rate you got, what the money is tied to, and what it costs you every month to carry it. The next time you are deciding whether a debt is fine to keep around, skip the category completely. Pull up the rate, ask what the money is attached to, and check what it is actually doing to your monthly margin. That is the only test that has ever actually mattered. Like and subscribe